Hello, everybody. Hi. Oh, good. There's people here. Thank you for watching the live stream, and somebody confirm that you can hear me because I never trust this thing to work with the Wi-Fi's and all that stuff. But if you can hear me, somebody say can hear you. Oh, good. Victory is ours. Okay. So hi, welcome to our today's live stream. I think this is the third one, and first of all, I want to apologize for there not really having been one since the tour ended in June. But there's been a lot of preparation and a lot of stuff going on, and honestly, I really couldn't put together a nice, pleasant time to do one till right now. And it's timely because in a few days I'm going to fly to St. Paul, and this tour is going to get started. And I hope some of you can go. I realize there are people from all over the world, so if you are unable to go or wishing a show is near you and it's not, I apologize for that. As always, we have very little control over where we end up going and how often we get there. But we do try. And I always say with Weezer, never say never. If you feel like Weezer's never come near where you live, please never say never, because we've gotten to a lot of places that we never thought we'd get to in the last few years, and we're going to keep doing that. So anyway, welcome to the Vault. It's a land of many Weezer related items. There's also a section just devoted to my personal life that's not on camera. But they all look like filing cabinets from the front. You're like, well, what's this and what's this? Well, some is me, some is Weezer, but me is Weezer, right? So it's like it's all the same thing in the same room. Just that which was not thrown away is here. I thought it would be kind of cool to talk about Blue Album stuff, since that's what this tour is kind of about, and that's what's kind of going on this fall. And I can't believe I'm saying fall, because isn't it August still? But as soon as I take that flight to St. Paul and September gets started, I'm going to blink, and then it's going to be like, oh, look, the leaves are turning red and it's getting cooler and blah, blah, blah. So here we are somehow once again. So what I thought I would start with is there's a lot of cool cassettes in this vault. Let me tell you, there's piles of cool cassettes in this vault. But what I thought I would do is get into a couple things that, and again, if you've seen some of this stuff either in a random old Instagram post or wherever, I don't mean to repeat myself, but I'm just pulling out what I got access to here. This little folder here contains stickers. Now, when the album first came out, you might know there wasn't a lot of hype about it at all. The band nobody ever heard of the band except for, like 40 people in Los Angeles. And here Geffen was like sending out, shipping out 12,000 copies or whatever it was around the country, hoping people would buy it. And there was nothing on the radio. There was there was a very small effort to get things played on college radio at that early stage. And initially there was no action at all. But one of the things the the label did, and this is typical, is they'd have a promotional sticker printed up that they'd send a little stack to all the record stores to give out. So this round sticker, which was printed on square paper, obviously, was like this very cheap, thin paper that it kind of got oily and peeled away after a while. And so you never stuck to anything hardly anymore, unless somebody stuck it to a nice, Trapper Keeper or something like that, where it'd stay really stable. These things just kind of dissolved and fell apart after a while. So the 1994 promotional DGC Weezer sticker, this was it. This was the only thing you could get. There was nothing for sale. There was nothing. It was either the album, or if you were lucky to score one of these at your record store, this was it. Now, not too long after that, and this is basically the band we did our own merchandise for the first summer in '94 touring, and we had baseball caps and we had shirts, both of which we got via these kind of handshake deals via my mom, of all people. She, with her connections to local businesses, she helped me out. Like we would fax in, like, okay, we need this many of this shirt, and here's the design, and she'd have it taken over to a place, and they'd print it up, and then we'd get these sort of like shipments sent out. Or if we were swinging through Buffalo, we'd like load up the back of the trailer with the boxes. She's like, "Here, Carl, we got some more boxes." And then we had to settle all the deals later. It's like, okay, we owe Mom like $750. All right, we got to figure this out. So initially, that was the merch. There's these caps, and they were maroon and green, and then there was the Bacchus shirts. They had Bacchus on the back, and Weezer on the front. And we ended up doing it in like 8 or 9 different colors, and they're very rare today. Occasionally you'll see one pop up on eBay. But then in the fall, things got kind of crazy. It was like, okay, Undone is blowing up. We're doing this Buddy Holly video. We need a merch deal. Mom can only keep up so much, and there was a need. Like the stores, like retail stores, wanted to carry stuff. It got kind of crazy. So then they inked their first merchant deal with a company called Winterland in San Francisco. They're long gone, but Winterland is responsible for the rock music shirts, those original ones, and that was drawn by Matt on a napkin, and they literally just blew that up and put it on the back of the shirt. And we also had them do the "If It's Too Loud, Turn It Down" shirt, which would have like the ringer sleeves and the long W on the front. And they did the Elvis shirts, because we were at their offices and we saw this Elvis shirt with like Elvis in like 5 different poses, and Matt was like, "Can we put our heads on that?" And they all laughed and said, "I guess so." So that became the Elvis shirt, which had the brush your teeth and do your homework on the back. Anyway, so the first retail sticker was this one, this oval, and this was actually done at the proper vinyl stickers. These are still good. I mean, they haven't deteriorated at all. You could stick it on a car today and it would still work just fine. And there's no marking on them. Nothing says who made it or anything like that. But these are the original ones licensed via Winterland. And I can't remember. Was Hot Topic even existing in 1994? I don't remember. But these were like places where you could get stickers. Is where you could get this. And I think we had a little stack of them in the fan club back then. And Michael and Carly would sometimes send these out, or maybe you could order one if you sent in like a bunch of stamps, because they always needed stamps to send out the zines. So that was that. Now, of course, later, I see here, there's the matching one that came out a few years later. You might recognize these colors for a different album. But it's exactly the same deal, it's just at different colors. And I also saved anything else that was kind of like a sticker. Now, back then, there's these bootlegs. These are crazy. These are funny. Bootleg stickers. Let's flip this like this. Yeah, these are like the kinds like that you put on the car, on the window. These aren't real. Like, and you can see that the font is wrong and everything. But kids wanted this kind of stuff. We should have made them, and for some reason didn't. But so people would order these, via whatever they could get their hands on. eBay didn't exist yet. So I'm not really sure how they got distributed at the time, but people would make these things and you'd see them on cars and stuff, and like, wait a minute, we didn't make that sticker. So there's like early bootlegs. And then there's this is a photocopy of one. This was a funny one. The W is wacky, the font makes no sense, and it was like printed with the W like right over the logo. But this was a sticker that people had, and I don't think I have the sticker, but somehow I got a photocopy of the sticker, so I just put it with the sticker so I remember what it looked like. It even says "looked like this," so maybe a fan sent this in. Blue, black. Anyway, so those are like the earliest stickers. Much later, of course, you have things like the Maladroit promotional stickers. Of course, our Weezer fan club sticker, designed in '98, and what else is in here is our very first after show passes. I have like one complete set of them. I think I had the presence of mind to grab one of each before they were all gone. Wait, there's a third one here. What are we doing? There we go. This one. So you got the after show. You've got the just like general. Not really sure what this was for. I don't know what they were going to write on that one. And then this was for the crew. This is the only one I have of this one. I don't know why this one became the scarce one, but it is. So those are some early Blue Album stickers. I thought I just popped up and said, "Ooh, you have to put these out real quick." But a more fun folder is this one. This is it's not complete. I've got some things in different places, but this is some examples of when we were developing the artwork for Blue. Basically sitting around in Electric Lady Studios, I would just sketch, and Rivers would come in and and then when we started doing it after the album was done, actually started creating the art, we had to go to the art director over at Geffen Records, and this nice guy named Michael, and he started well, how about this, and how about this, and he had a very early Photoshop skills, and he'd start throwing things around and well, why don't you do this and pop this and move this, and he had some kind of wild ideas that were like, that's a little too extreme, hold on. But so some of the printouts he had back in the day I just have saved here. But anyway, here's like an example of I don't know if you can see this, here's like a booklet I made, and it even has like a kind of sketch of what the garage would look like in the inside. And then on the back, this is all written by Rivers. He had the whole credits all figured out. It changed quite a bit from this, but there was some it even has a line, samples by Karl Koch, because Undone originally had samples I had done, and then Geffen said, we're not clearing those samples. So that's why we ended up doing the party dialogue instead. Here's one of the shots that never got used. This is a color printout from a computer from Geffen, and it just never happened. This one I like because it printed out green by accident, their printer was messed up, so I turned it into a different idea. And here's a good example of what the art director guy was suggesting. He said, "Why don't you put your heads like this?" And we said, "No, I don't know about that. I don't know about the heads being all over the place, but it's pretty funny." So anyway, oh, this is a good one here. This is like a proof, but it's just a photocopy of a proof, but it's like what the final CD ended up looking like. But we had a lot of ideas on what the CD would look like originally too. And they ended up slowly just all disappearing. No, let's not do that. No, let's not do that. No, let's not do that. Here's an early photocopy with the logo kind of pasted in there. And you can see this is not the ending look because they're overlapped. This is a different photograph. There was a bunch of photographs taken, a lot more taken than what you saw on the cover. Hold on, there's more in here. Keep flipping, okay. Wow. So here's a good one. This is trying to work out what the logo is going to look like. Specifically taking a Futura font and trying to modify it a little bit, doing it on graph paper, trying to figure out exactly what it looked like. And here's an earlier one before we kind of figured out the Futura idea. Hold on a second here. Falling apart here. Here we go. And in the little corner here, you can see a little sketch Rivers made. That's the idea. And then I didn't draw some of these. I think Matt might have made this one. This is kind of funny. But then there was briefly this idea, what if the CD looked like a bowling ball, and the album was called Strike? And of course that went nowhere, but we were all laughing about that one. And here's some more font ideas and just notions like that. This one I think I've put in some, this is probably on the internet, I can't remember. But there's a bunch of different things that happened. There's a lot of attempts at making the W early on. This is a pretty good one. Like you can see the whiteout and stuff on this where we're trying to figure out the exact dimensions. And there was really like 2 early W's, and this was like the earlier W that had more like skinny, long parts to it, and then a slightly more compressed one became like the kind of final W. This green folder says executive on it. I don't think so. This has a good one too. This is where we were I was working out the actual W and kind of figuring out the font more. And I think you guys all know the story that Pat Wilson came up with that W because he was basically like copying Van Halen. But I found out something cool. There's a book about Van Halen that this is kind of nice. A book about Van Halen. It's exhaustive. There's like 100 more of these. There's a book about Van Halen. It's about their early years. I don't remember the name of what's called right now, but it's not the one. There's a famous Van Halen book written by their manager. It's all about how they got huge. But there's a book about them before they got huge, like back in Pasadena, just doing like backyard parties and like being really popular amongst the locals there. And there's a great anecdote in that book about how somebody was in their manager's office and he saw something kind of folded up in a closet when the manager wasn't in there, and he picked it up, and it was this old poster for a Jimi Hendrix show, and the J and the H were like slanted and had wings on them, and it was just like what Van Halen later used for the VH thing. And he realized that they were like hiding that because they basically copied it. So now we don't feel so bad about copying Van Halen because they were just copying Jimi Hendrix in the first place. Now this folder has a couple cool things in it. This is called, this is like singles art. Like here's like a printout proof of what the Sweater Song single would look like. And here's the back. Kind of neat to see that. And this was a proposal for the cassette single, which we ended up not using because we ended up using the shot that with the guys in the mirror that looks all distorted. But this is a fax. I don't know if you can even see this anymore. Faxes fade over time, people. They're not. It was not a good format. Here's some Buddy Holly ones. Again, it's a faded fax. I mean, isn't that sad? Like it's almost all gone. But you can see the different ideas. And what's this here? Oh, this one's actually in color. Wow. By Say It Ain't So, they were like, okay, let's give these guys some color. So here's like some Say It Ain't So proofs. I think they use the top stuff, but not the bottom ones, I believe. Well, these are pretty neat. To anybody wondering if this stuff is going to be digitized and preserved, don't worry, that's the plan for everything. That anything that hasn't already been preserved is going to be. There's only so many hours in the day, but it is going to happen. There's one last thing you should probably see in here in this part of the thing, and that's when we, as you know, it says Blue Album Send Away for lyrics, and that was kind of the hook to see if you were interested in the fan club back in the 90s, because Michael and Carly would send you lyrics, but there would also be an offer to join the fan club with the lyrics. Initially, those lyrics had to be written out, and Rivers did that. And at one point, I discovered I had all his handwritten versions of these that Michael and Carly photocopied and turned into the original lyric booklet. So these are all like these beautiful, very carefully written out. And it's funny how like he got to the point where he made a little mistake in Buddy Holly in this one, and he was like, I'm so tired, I'm just going to keep writing, I don't care. I think that's pretty funny. And then later they released more lyrics, I think in one of the, I don't remember if it was in one of the Weezines offhand, but here's Suzanne. And this is all neat stuff because these are this is what he wrote. Here's You Gave Your Love to Me Softly. Of course, this is later. These would be Pinkerton era. So these are written in pencil. There's Devotion. And this is actually something, you guys get the super sneak preview. This is actually going to be on tour with me. This is when Matt was recording Buddy Holly, he needed a cheat sheet of the lyrics because basically he had to learn them and play at the same time. Now with recording, you don't have to do that, but he was like practicing because he knew that they had to play it live, not long after. So he'd have this in front of him, bang, bang, and knock on the door. He wrote this all out. And because the idea was that, you know, Matt's a good bass player, but it's hard for some lyrics if they don't match the rhythm of the playing. Like he's going do 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 do, but it's bang, bang, knock on the door. It's like a totally different rhythm. So somehow I ended up with this. It's kind of a neat little thing, but that's one of the little things I'm going to be putting in the little museum on tour this time. What else was I going to show you? Oh, this is some good stuff here. Speaking of the Weezer fan club, thank you all for joining and being part of it. I found, not that I'd ever lost them, but you know, things in a room like this, stuff. I'm like, I know I put that down. Where is it? Like right now, I've got like 6 things in the back of my head. I know I have it. Where is it? But these things are pretty cool. This is my Michael and Carly. When they started the fan club, they started with Michael being member number 1 and Carly being member number 2, and everybody got a membership card. You can still get them, by the way, via the app if you send away for it. But then it was back then it was mandatory. Like you send in your little picture, and they would send you a card as part of what you got for your feet. Excuse me. But they wanted the band to have their cards too, but they didn't want to go and use numbers for the bands and me. So they gave us these kind of like nonsense things. So here's my Weezer fan club card with my bizarre number. And they just kind of selected this kind of old school nerd. Is there resemblance there? I don't know. But then, here's another one I've got. I've only got one other one, but this one's pretty cool. So I thought those were really nice to see. And I pulled out these portfolios because I'm going to tilt this down. Now, don't fall off the thing, phone. Can you see that correctly? You like that soda can table over there? My brother made that in like 1973. These at some point I was just starting to put stuff in folders so it wouldn't get damaged, you know? So we have like the original promo poster with the small logo, and then a few months later they said, no, you need the big promo poster. The promo poster with the big logo on it. And I've also got, you know, the 8x10s in here. There was 5 original 8x10s. That was one of them. The lawnmower shot was one of them. These are Electric Lady scans of the tape boxes. This is a photocopy actually, but it's because the original one's huge. This was my plan of how I played out the samples on Undone. Like I had left, right, and center channels, so each part had to be played at the right time in the right part of the song to make the conversation happen. I'll read you the conversation. This isn't my voice. These are the things in the samples. It's out of control. Everything seems fine. Isn't this exciting? I feel terrible. See, there's the good and the bad. Everything seems fine. I feel terrible. And then in the middle, I think the guy's nuts. I feel terrible. Everything seems fine. In the middle, he's out of his head. And then she's bucking like a bronco. Everything seems fine. I feel terrible. You crazy or something? That's in the middle. Everything seems fine. When you gotta go, you gotta go. And then a bear is like grumbling. And then it goes to the first verse. And then when it comes back to the first verse, it says, I can talk again. And then the other side says, I'm going to kill your boyfriend, sweetheart. Something that I later used in one of my own songs. And then on this side it says, "Oh, thank heaven you're all right again." And then here on the bad side, "We show trouble indicators." And then, "You've turned into a monster, both of you." That's in the center because it had to be like, you know, the balance between the person who was bummed out and the person who was happy. "You've already lost. I know it, I feel it." And then a giant bowling strike where the, I guess that ties into the idea of the album being called Strike. I don't know. Anyway, that was that. There's another promo post, another 8x10. This is by Spike Jones. This is from Undone, of course. Fantastic photograph. One of the best photographs of the band, really. This is a calendar of I kind of pieced together what happened. Here's another one. This is a great one. I guess there's 6 promo photos now I think about it, because there's this one, of course, they use. This is also on the Undone cassette. More calendars of what happened, and here's another promo photo. And this is kind of a scrapbook of photos you've probably seen online, or maybe not all of them, but just what happened in Electric Lady, recording. And more recording. There's me hanging out in the lounge. Pat, Jason, that was a engineer guy. And these are different like cover ideas that kind of came together before we got to the actual blue concept. Again, here's a photocopy of that thing you just saw a few minutes ago. This was the first font thing I found. I was like, what is this font? We want this. And once I figured out it was Futura, then that led to everything, making the Weezer font happen. And that's the only relevant stuff in here. And in this larger one, we just got a nice Club Lingerie original art there. This is when we still had the old logo that I developed, but the W was correct. And in here is a bunch of posters and stuff. Some of this isn't really relevant, but let's go through it because it's right here, right? Is this angled correctly? Let's try this a little bit like that. This was a show, May 17th, 1994, one of the very first shows after the Blue Album actually came out. This was up in Seattle at a place called Rock Candy. It's all gone now, it's downtown. There's a Pinkerton promo poster. This is supposed to go in record stores. This part tore off, album out September 24th. There's another Pinkerton era one. This is 95, so this is blue. This was at the Fillmore in San Francisco. This is a fairly famous poster, but then we went back to the Fillmore in 96 with Super Drag. There's that one. We went back to the Fillmore again in 97 with the Pulsars. Very cool band, the Pulsars. I think one of the guys ended up being in production. This is one of my favorite Weezer posters. This is later, this is 2000, but in Albuquerque, whoever made this, Delano Rock 2000, I think that's the artist. A fantastic poster. I can't say I like this poster, but it makes me laugh. This is like a sort of a Weezer superhero beating up Fred Durst. I thought that was funny. Another one of the all-time great Weezer posters right there. And this one. This is from that Hoopty tour with Mikey in Philadelphia. Played in the boxing ring. This is a window cling thing. It's not even a poster. It's just bizarre. But so we're into Scott era stuff here. This is Carling Academy 2005. Weezer and Foo Fighters 2005. This is a photograph our ex-manager Dan Field took. Great printout. He had the band sign it. I ended up with it somehow. You might remember the Memories Tour, 2011, 2012. These are these very limited posters that our great fan club member and artist Alec Longstreth designed. Oh look, I've got number 1. Whew, sorry. And this is another all-time favorite, The Legend of Weezer, the Zelda cartridge look. Some of these are just in here just because they didn't fit anywhere else. There's a Weezer Cruise. For the longest time, I didn't have the second Weezer Cruise poster, but one of our wonderful fan club members, Sherry, sent me one. And the funny thing is, that's one of the 6 things I'm looking for right now. Like, I know I have it. So, sorry. Oh, these are from when they played Back to the Shack at, was this, Oi! Is this Leno? I think this is Leno. These are like the things that he reads for the TV. Tonight they're performing the single Back to the Shack on TV for the first time. Please welcome Weezer! And here's some other great posters. These are more recent. Here's some great fan art. I love these. This is why I would always save whatever art that came in, because you look back on it and you're like, wow, look at the effort and the time somebody put into this stuff. It's just so amazing. There's another one there. And this is stuff that has to be archived properly. Right now it's just in here for safety. This is the band 1992 calendar. This has all their, like, the dates and the meetings and the shows and the rehearsals, and all that information's in here. This was in the kitchen at the Amherst house for that whole year. And there it is, finals in December, and everybody goes home for Christmas. Weezer, and there's more. There's more from Leno. And here's an original poster from '93. This is the artwork I made, put together for it. I think I had this in the museum at one point. That's why it's all kind of bound up like that. So that's more cool stuff. Now I've got a couple other things to show you. In here, I've got a lot of CDs, but this is a pretty cool selection because this is, you can see this kind of massive blue here. You've got a lot of blue albums. Why do we have a lot of blue albums? Well, some of them aren't really even actual CDs, but this is not what the album ended up looking like. But, you know, obviously it was just a placeholder at the time because we were making fun of it. But there's not much else to it. I just thought it was funny. And here are some more like prototypes and such. Here's the actual booklet that we kind of came up with, or I came up with, I guess. And this is back when we thought there were going to be lyrics in here, so it has pages and pages of like, now put these lyrics on this page and put these lyrics on this page. And then of course later on we found out, no, there's not going to be any lyrics in this booklet. They're not giving us enough room for that. And here's like a nice little printed out prototype, and with the back. And this one actually has we had already gotten this photo taken at that point, so this is like probably the closest we came before it got to the final. But these are some like discs, like disc ideas. Very early on I kind of pitched this one. They kind of have this like suburban house, and it was not disliked, but it just ended up being too much of an idea. It had to be much more plain than that, so we ended up not going that way. Then it was like, well, what if we did like, a big W? And that was pretty cool, but we ended up not going there either. And then it came down to, well, what if we kind of shrunk the W down, right? And then, as you know, we got just to Weezer, the logo only. This was kind of a joke one I did where it's like an overhead view of a golf green, and they're putting into the hole in the middle. Things got weird. We were tired. We were staying up all night working on this stuff. This I believe dated 11/4/93 would be like the final mastered album. And this was a CDR, which back then that was a big deal. Like, whoa, a recordable CD? Are you kidding me? So that was kind of a cool step in the process there. And here's another prototype. It's like you can see like these photos aren't quite all the same. Like that's not even exactly the same photograph. But this one actually has like a printed on thing. It's not a real, it's actually the other side of a real CD. We were just playing around with it like in the art department. And yet another one. This one's pretty close. I mean, that's pretty close to what it ended up being right there. We're just about there at this point. And then, this is pretty funny. So these are the advanced CDs. Some of you might have these. This was kind of a a rarity floating around on eBay for a while. Some of these would show up once in a while. But we had, for some reason, when we got one, the idea was like, let's, mock it up, right? So you had, this kind of like, again, put the guys in there and kind of figure out what it's going to look like. And then for some reason, there's an overlay on here for the band's logo, but there must have been something silly going on that day because more overlays were put in with I believe whiteout. So that's another strange one. That's another weird one. And the final one I'd like to show this is the copy I bought at Tower Records the day it came out. Never opened it. And the reason that happened is Rivers did it too. We had this like kind of weird superstition, like we have to buy it the day it comes out or it will have no chance at all. There's really nothing to that. It's just basically having a superstition, like we have to do this. Like we can't let the day go by. We have to get there on May 10th and buy it. And we both did. And so that's mine. And I'd like to think for that $14.99, we bought a little insurance that perhaps the world would take notice at some point. It took them about 6 months to do it, but eventually people started noticing the album. I don't know what else is in here that's... The last thing I'll show out of this box is most CD singles that were sent out, they sent it with an edit that was 3 minutes and 58 seconds long. But a couple of them, they goofed up and sent a completely different mix and printed it on the CD that was 4 minutes and 10 seconds long. For some reason, there's like this weird mix that's not as short as the one that they originally put the radio, and it's not as long as the one on the album, and it's only on this particular CD single, which it looks kind of green and everything. And I don't know how many there are of this one, but it's the only one I've ever found or seen, and I think I got it directly from the label at the time. So somehow they goofed up, sent out a couple 410s and said, oh no, it's not the wrong one, it's the wrong one, because the jackets say 358. So anyway, if you've never seen a 410, that's what they look like. It's actually on the disc, it says 410, and it is a different mix. It ends 12 seconds later. And some people think that's a big deal. Okay, I think I covered all the things I wanted to cover. And there's a lot of questions about the cassettes. Yes, basically the only thing about the cassettes was that how do you lay it out since it's not square? And I think what they ended up doing is they just cut it off, lower. But there was never any question about some other, like you had to lay out the CD first. And then the other formats followed. I mean, obviously the LP, which the United States didn't even make an LP initially. It took England to do that in early '95. And then Japan as well. So there was never any fussing over what the cassette was really going to look like. I don't have much in terms of that. There is one or two things like that, like just showing like the early layout, but we never were like hemming and hawing over, where's it going to go? Like it was like, just make it look right on the cassette. And I think they did. The only cool cassette variation you might have seen, there's a black and white one that you turn it over and you can see their feet, and that was a promotional thing they put out around the very early days. I don't know what radio stations got that one or who that was sent to, but we didn't lay that out. When we saw the feet on it, we were like, our jaws dropped. Like, wait a minute, no, you're not supposed to show the feet. What? Wait a minute. And it was too late. They sent it out. And then, of course, in Japan, they always sort of just take the initiative and do something that you didn't think they were going to do. And they said, well, we're going to have the whole band on the cover. And we were like, how did they even get that photo? Like, how did they get access to the photo that, only the art department in LA had. Like, they just somehow figure out a way because, you know, they're very clever and they like to have their stuff a little bit different, and it's always more special. So I'm really glad they did that because it was cool that there was a version that had the whole photo on it. So, I'm just gonna look at some comments here. Thank you guys for coming to this. Sure is a lot of people commenting. That's very cool. Why was the French undone single yellow though? Because the French are even more do what they want to do than the Japanese. That was something I remember being on tour and we went to Paris, and Brian walked onto the tour bus and he had like 2 or 3 copies of this thing. He said, I just did an interview with some radio station or something, and they had these, and I looked at it, I was like, give me one of those things. And it was the yellow single. And we ended up talking to some label rep, and they said, oh yeah, we did 1,000 copies of that. Isn't that nice? We're like, you did? Why? Like, why is it yellow? And it was just because they wanted to. Like, they wanted to do a promo. And they wanted it to be yellow. So that's why they're yellow. You have to laugh at some point because it doesn't hurt. I mean, it's like they're trying to promote the band, but it was like, didn't anybody like, where's the meeting? Like, didn't we call a meeting on this? What happened? But yeah, those are the kind of Wild West days. They just did what they did. They were the labels. They had, you know, in the old days, they had all the power. And by the time it was the 90s, they had most of the power. And the bands had a little bit more like, you know, initiative. But being a new band, he didn't have a lot of say. Like, you know, Rivers being very stubborn about what he wanted was really helpful because it kept the it kept too much, you know, there's a lot of like things that weren't the right image, that didn't feel right. We kind of avoided a lot of that. But once in a while, you got yellow singles and you got like, you know, strange promotional ideas. Susan Weezer comes to mind. You might remember. Anybody seen that little ad on the that we put on the DVD? That was another thing that we were not consulted on that one. So yeah, we are going to start this tour next week, and I really hope some of you guys are there. And I'm going to be doing the VIP tour. If anybody is going to that, thank you so much. I know that that's a big commitment. I'm going to try to make it as fun and cool as possible in the 45 minutes or whatever we're going to get together. And it's going to be a lot of fun because this is a whole new stage set, a whole new everything. It's really, really cool. It is the most ambitious tour we've ever tried. So cross your fingers that everything goes well. You know, the Indie Rock Road Trip last summer was our last most ambitious thing, and now it's like the ante has been upped. I mean, there's even more trucks, there's even more stuff, there's even more everything. So we're going to see how it goes. All right, I am going to sign off. We're getting up to 45 minutes, which is about what I allotted for this. Thank you so much. And we'll do this again. I'm going to do more random live streams. I don't know if I can always announce them ahead of time, so keep your eyes open. I'm going to try to capture some stuff on stage, hopefully backstage, and we'll do what we can. All right? Thank you, everybody. I will see you soon.